Ryan, well, thanks for coming and sitting down with me today and having a conversation. I know of you. I've seen your murals. I've seen your incredible work, but I want to get to know you better. I want to know where you're from, when you came out, just what your story is.
Okay, well, I'm Ryan, and I use they, them pronouns. I'm originally from this town in Washington State, just south of Seattle. It's called Puyallup. And it's just like typical town. It reminds me a lot of like St. George, actually. And I played soccer my entire life, and I was recruited to play soccer for college at Southern Utah University, and that's how I ended up in Utah, because full ride, why wouldn't you, you know?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
so I played soccer most of my college career, and then got into murals towards the end of my college career, and I just graduated last spring, and now I'm doing murals full-time for work. As for like my coming out, I can't really say I really like came out, honestly. I figured myself out in high school, and then when I came to college, I changed states, you know, and so nobody knew who I was, and so I just kind of existed as I was, and so when I first got into a queer relationship, no one was really surprised because no one had any preconceived ideas of me beforehand. So that was really nice, and I think the only person I really came out to was my mom, and it went really well.
Oh, good,
And
good.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah, she's super supportive. My whole family is super supportive, so I'm very thankful for that. So it was just my mom, and then once I told my mom, I didn't care who knew. So everyone back home just found out through the grapevine, and here we are.
Fun. Okay, well, tell me about muraling and what that means to you. And I want to hear about kind of the process that went to painting the mural down at Encircle St. George.
In St. George?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
how that's informed the one that you're doing here and what it means to you to have so many queer people come through and see your work.
Yeah, well, muraling, I think starting off like how I got into it is a good place to start, because I kind of fell into it by accident. When I was playing soccer at SUU, I was studying graphic design, and my weight training coach there wanted a mural designed for the wall in the weight room, and he knew that I was a designer, and so he reached out to me and was like, could you design me a mural? And I needed some volunteer hours for the soccer team, and so I told him that I could paint the mural. Crazy idea, because I had never painted really anything, let alone something that big of a scale. So he gave me a chance, and he let me do it, and my first mural was at my school, and it turned out so much better than I expected. Like, it was perfect. It couldn't have gone better, I don't think. And so at the end of that, I was just kind of like, wow, that was a fun project, and I didn't really think I would be doing it again. But I traveled to Louisiana for a semester chasing another like soccer dream, and then when my soccer career was kind of coming to an end, it's almost like as soon as that ended, somebody in Louisiana reached out and saw my mural on social media and was like, can we have one? And I was like, wow, I didn't think I'd ever do that again. So,
That's awesome.
so I did 2 murals in Louisiana while I was there, and then I moved back to finish my schooling at Southern Utah. And that's when the Encircle opportunity kind of presented itself, because Encircle was coming to visit my school to discuss like who they were, and my school reached out and did like a artist call, I guess, and just asking LGBT students to submit artwork to present kind of at the Encircle like special lunch that everyone's going to be at. And so I'm also a photographer, and I submitted a project that I did called the Gender Project, and it's about it's portraits of people who don't conform to gender, and very beautiful. I really love that project. It's probably my favorite photography series. And I was selected to show my work. I was the only artist selected. So Stephanie saw my work, and I got to meet Stephanie because she wanted to meet the artist. And I just kind of said, I also paint murals. And I was like, I know you're building a house in St. George. I'd love to do a mural for you. And she almost hired me like right on the spot. And Encircle was a game changer, I think, for my mural career. Encircle was kind of what made me think, oh, I could do this. Like, I could I could do this. And so, yeah, Encircle was my real gig, my first real gig, I'd say, because the others were just like, this is fun, and Encircle was real. And so the St. George House was so much fun to design because it was also a queer mural, and that was so fun for me because I got to put myself into that mural a little bit more than my previous ones. And after the Encircle mural, it just kind of, my career kind of snowballed, and I've just like kept having work through the rest of my college career. And it's because I started with Encircle and had like the confidence to keep going with it. So that was really awesome.
That's so cool. So now you're doing muraling full time.
Yep.
Yeah?
I graduated in the spring,
Okay.
and now I'm just a full-time muralist. I actually just recently moved into a vintage camper so I can kind of travel and paint, because the goal is to get a mural in every state. So I have 3 states down: Washington, Utah, and Louisiana. And so that means I have a lot more to go.
Yeah,
a lot
let's
more
make it
ground to
happen.
cover.
That's so cool. I had no idea you're a photographer. I'm really excited to see this.
Oh, yeah?
I want to see it. That's so awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome to. I don't have a lot of my photography online because I want to be seen as a muralist first, and photography is more of a hobby. But I do have it out there somewhere. So.
Okay, yeah, I just want to see it. Okay, super random question.
Go for it.
But I remember seeing, I think on your website,
Mm-hmm.
a mural that you did that would change as you walked around it.
Yes.
What was that for? Tell me more about that. I loved it.
Yes, that project was incredible. So I completed that one last spring, and it was my capstone project for graduation. And for the capstone project at SUU, for people in artistic majors, mine being graphic design, you kind of get to do whatever you want with the project. The idea is do something that you want to do more work of in the future, so you can put in your portfolio and people can hire you to do these things. And so I wanted to do a 3D mural. I don't know why that popped into my head, and I had no idea how to even go about it, but I wanted to do something 3D. And it's called Parallax Art. And if you look up Parallax Art, you'll see a lot of sculptures that have that same essence, where you can walk around it and it moves or it changes, or you have to stand in the right spot to see it all. And I loved that kind of work, and I thought, why not try this? So if it fails, then I guess I can't graduate. But I didn't think it was going to fail. I just knew I had to figure it out. So in essence, that project was it was a 6 by 6 foot wood base, and it's 8 feet tall, and there are 44 2x2 poles sticking out of that base, giving it the height. And if you think of like a 2x2, they've got 4 sides to them because they're rectangular, or they're square. And so I basically had 4 sides to work with. And so why not do 4 sides of 3D murals instead of just 1 side? Which was way more work than expected. And this was all, I got some funding from the school, but a lot of it was funded by me, and it was just like, I want to make this work. And so when you look at the project face on, you'll see a portrait of a queer individual, actually. And as you walk around the piece, it kind of shifts because all of those poles are in a different plane. And so if you stand in the right spot, you'll see it, but if you stand in the wrong spot, it almost becomes abstract. And if you shift all the way, a quarter of the way, then there's another portrait from the other side that you're seeing. And so there's 4 portraits, and you can walk all the way around the piece. And that project, it's titled See Us, and it's actually kind of a visual description of the coming out story to me. And the first portrait is actually a self-portrait, and it's black and white, and it's kind of like gives off more of a lonely, kind of almost sad kind of vibe. And so I feel like that's kind of the beginning process, where you're just kind of like, you don't know how you feel, and you don't know like if it's okay to be queer, or you don't, like, everything feels wrong at first, you know. And then as you walk around the piece, the colors get brighter and brighter, and the final piece, it's like beautiful bright purple colors, and the portraits get happier as you go around, and it kind of tells the timeline of the coming out. And the final portrait is just this beautiful model who is just so happy with who they are and so proud of who they are. And
Awesome.
so that project was so near and dear to my heart. And so the fact that I got to not only build it and create it and make it exactly how I pictured it, but I got to then display it for my school at the museum, Southern Utah Museum of Arts. And then we had opening night and everybody got to see it, and it was just amazing to watch people walk around and put it together in their mind and stuff. So it was just so cool. And then Utah Pride actually picked it up and wanted it for Utah Pride this last summer, so I actually got to display it there as well, which is so cool.
No way.
Yeah.
I was there and I missed it.
Oh, you did?
Oh my gosh. I was just about to say, like, I wish I could have seen it in person, because seeing it on your website, I was in love with it.
Yeah, well,
So-
I believe it's displayed outside the Utah Pride Center right now because I donated it to them. So,
Awesome.
yeah. So
That's so
I think
cool.
it's
What an
there.
awesome place to have that.
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
so cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, cool. Okay, I also want to ask you about the mural down in St. George.
Yeah.
Tell me more about it. Tell me more about the process that went into making it
Yeah.
happen, because the kids down there love that mural in the art room.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that
Yeah.
they love it because I love it. That was, like I said earlier, like that was my first project where I felt really connected with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one, I had a couple like guidelines in the sense of it needed to say no sides, only love, and it needed to be colorful and bright and whatnot. And I really love painting straight lines. It's very like meditative for me to do it. I don't typically use tape when I'm doing straight lines, so it's just steady hand. and I really wanted it to include some of my photography. That was kind of when I first got into, I include a lot of my photography in my murals now, but that was the first time I was like trying to include it. And so there are like 2 portraits, kind of like abstract portraits, I'd say, on that mural that I pulled from some of my photos. And yeah, so I love that mural because it kind of starts dark and gets light from one side to the other, and then no sides, only love is just big and bold in the middle there. And yeah, that one was just a lot of fun, and we wanted it to be kind of pop arty just a little bit, so that's kind of where a lot of the inspiration for like the colors came from, and the inclusion of the portraits actually. So yeah, that one was just I spent so long designing it just to make it perfect. I wanted it to be so perfect. And then when I went to paint it, I was still in school, and I lived in Cedar City, which is 45 minutes away. And so, and I also was working, I was working at Home Depot actually during the week. So my only free time was the weekends. So I went every weekend to go paint that mural for a couple weeks. And yep, it was so much fun. And the house was still under construction, so I was the only person there. And it was just like, as I'm painting it, this is what I want to do. How can I make this my career, you know? And so I'm so grateful for Stephanie for giving me that opportunity, which was awesome.
And it's such an amazing mural.
Thank
I
you.
feel like I hear about it all the time from kids that come, because I live here in Salt Lake City, and we have youth come up from St. George every once in a while, and they're like, you guys really need a mural. Why don't you have a mural here? And we're like, well, we're getting one from Ryan. We're really excited about it. Okay, tell me what it means to you to have a mural like that in the art room in St. George. Yeah,
that is so cool. I mean, having a mural in the Encircle house is just amazing for me in general, because Encircle is near and dear to my heart now. And but having it also like in the art room where kids are going to be inspired and, you know, feel welcome and safe, that's just all the more magical. Like, an artist painted that mural, and so you are in the like presence of art, you know. And so I think that sparks creativity, and it makes the whole experience a lot better. So that is so cool. It's so cool to have a mural in St. George, because I mean, St. George is right next door to me, so it was just really awesome.
So cool. Yeah, I love it. Well, cool. Okay, I also want to hear a little bit more about traveling in your van and why you made that decision and what it's been like.
Okay, so if we rewind, I lived in Louisiana for a little bit, and I was chasing a soccer dream. I was actually thinking I was going to try to go do semi-pro soccer overseas someday. And but in Louisiana, it was just best season. My best season was in Louisiana, I'd say. But I was realizing that I wanted to focus more on a career rather than soccer, and I was getting tired. You know, I was just getting tired. I'd played soccer my entire life, and I was tired. And so I was in Louisiana, and I actually came across a YouTube channel of people who lived out of their van, and I was like, wow, that is so cool. Like, they just travel, and it's probably super cheap, and you know. And so I obsessively watched this YouTube channel, and then I actually started to do a lot of research with it and stuff. So kind of when my soccer career ended, I had a lot of free time. So I was studying up on people who lived on the road, and that dream just started to ignite, I'd say. And then I moved back to southern Utah, and it was like I then noticed how many people lived in a van, or like how many vans were driving, or RVs or whatever, and I was like, this is just, how cool would that be? That what a cool dream, what a cool experience, you know? And so then flashback to last spring, I was graduating, and I knew I wanted to paint murals. I'm going to be a muralist. Where do I want to be based out of, you know? And so I considered Salt Lake City, just to be kind of more in like a city hub. Yeah. But I had so much encouragement from people outside of me that were like, you are 22. If I could go back, I would do that. So why not live on the road, you know? And so it just like, I finally just, why not? So I looked on Facebook Marketplace for vans. I looked for buses. I looked for trailers. I looked for anything, and I you know, I had a small budget, so what can I find? What's going to work? And I found this adorable little trailer. It's a 1972 Roadrunner, and it's teal blue. It's so old, but the interior was totally redone by the previous owners. Cool. So it's totally redone and basically ready to go. And so I bought it a month before my lease ended in the summer, and got it ready, and I moved into it like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's been really fun so far. I've been on adventures already, and it's hard, but I expected it to be hard. And I think like once I get my routine and everything kind of figured out, it's just going to be so much fun.
Yeah, and I think it's such an awesome move as a muralist that wants to have a mural in every state.
Yes, I was hoping it would help me get to other states easier, and I could just kind of show up at a state and say, who wants a mural, you know? And
that's so cool.
Or if somebody wanted a mural, I could just drive to them and you know, still have my little home. And I have a cat, and so my cat could come with me.
Is your cat with you right now?
Yeah, she's in there.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That's so fun. It's funny hearing you talk about the research and the YouTube channels, because my partner is absolutely obsessed with an Airstream.
Oh, yeah?
Like, he wants one.
They're so beautiful.
Bad. Yeah. And he's just, that's all he wants to do. He wants to get an Airstream. He wants to move out. He wants to just travel.
Yeah.
And seeing you do it, I'm like, wow, he would love to see this.
It's so fun. And it's so, like, I don't want to make it seem like it's easy, because it's not easy at all. Like, my stove is broken right now, so I can't cook anything. And my battery isn't powerful enough to charge my fridge right now, so I have a cooler. And so it's just like little things that are popping up that I just have to figure out as I go. Yeah. And you know, you think, wow, it's kind of hard to live without a stove. You didn't know that it was an easy convenience when you lived in an apartment or a house or something. But I'm making it work, and everything. Like, I'm parked right outside of Encircle while I work on this mural right now. It's 0 commute to work, so it's like, it's really lovely, actually.
Can you tell me more about your decision to leave soccer? How was that hard?
Yeah, so my soccer career was so
and how did it start?
Up and down. Well, I started when I was like 4.
Okay.
My parents both played, and so
I see. Okay.
Their kids were going to play soccer. My sister played up till high school, and but she didn't want to pursue college soccer. So I got recruited to play at SU. I was a goalkeeper. That was my thing. And and your freshman year is really, you're just like learning the ropes of collegiate soccer. It's a Division I school, so it's like rough. But it's so fun. I loved it so much. And it was really awesome. And then my sophomore year, I was a little more, I wasn't so straight passing, I'd say. I cut my hair, and I had like an open queer relationship at that point. And so I found the school in Louisiana who needed a goalkeeper, and offered me money for it. So I made the shift pretty quick over to Louisiana and had the best like season of my career. That team was on a 22 game losing streak, and then the first game I played in the back of the net, we won. And I'm not saying that's all me, but I am saying maybe I had a little bit to do with it.
Totally,
and
that's awesome.
So that was just the best season of my career. But academically, I didn't love the school as much as I loved SUU, and so that season I needed to really figure out, okay, am I going to stay here in Louisiana and pursue this soccer thing, or am I going to go back to a school that I know is going to help me further my artistic career? And so that's a tough choice. That is so hard, because a lot of athletes, all they are their sport, you know? And I knew that I could be more than my sport. I just didn't know how yet. And so when the season ended, I decided to be done with soccer, and I was going to move back to Utah the next semester and finish my school where I started. But it's so crazy, because I swear, like, the day after I quit, it was like I got contact to do a mural for Louisiana on campus, and I was like, that's crazy. Like, I didn't think I was going to ever paint another mural. I thought that was one and done and cool project, you know? And so I had all this free time, so might as well paint another mural. So yeah, and then as soon as that mural was done, someone saw it and was like, could you do one for me? And so I did 2 murals in a semester at Louisiana, which seemed like so much at the time. And then I moved back, and Encircle was coming, and Stephanie offered me the mural, and I was like, wow, we could just do this. Let's just do this, you know? So it was crazy.
Oh, yeah. Good. I'm so glad you found.
Yeah, me too. I became more than my sport, you know, and I knew I could, but I knew it was going to be kind of scary, you know. I was going to play overseas. What's the new plan, you know? So.
Well, I mean, every mural I've seen of yours, I'm just absolutely in love with.
Thank you.
So I'm so glad you made the decision.
Me too. Me
good,
too.
Good. All right, coming back to coming out, I want to know more. Tell me more.
Okay, well, let's see. Back in high school, I'd say I met this girl, and she was a lesbian, and I had no idea kind of even what that was freshman year, you know, and she told me about it and like her girlfriend and stuff, and I was like, wow, that's cool. Whatever, you know, whatever. And then I had a boyfriend for like a month, and he was the first boy that ever showed interest in me, so I was kind of like, yeah, we could date, and then I broke up with him very quickly. And then I was actually like the designated straight friend in high school. I hung out with like 3 gay girls, and then it was me, so I think that's so funny looking back. But anyway, later I got this other boyfriend, and he was a goalkeeper, and he was super in shape, and he had dark hair, light eyes, and like just beautiful. And he liked me, and I was like, of course I should like him, you know? So we dated also for a month, and I just kind of was like, what's wrong? Like, why don't I like this kid? Like, he's so good to me, and he's so sweet, and he's so nice, and he's handsome, and all these things, and it just like, I don't know. And I even like went to my mom, and I was kind of like in tears, like, I don't know why I don't like him or whatever. And my mom actually asked, like, well, do you think you like girls? And I was like, no. And then as soon as I said that, I was like, oh, wait a minute, you know? And so then I like dove into all, you know, what everybody does. You know, you Google, am I gay? And you take all those stupid quizzes on BuzzFeed. And you watch people's coming out stories on YouTube. Or at least that's what I did.
That's what I did. I forgot about the quizzes.
Yeah, the quizzes.
That's so funny.
Where the questions are like, well, are you attracted to women? And I'm like, I don't know. That's why I'm taking this quiz. And so I just watched a lot of like coming out stories on YouTube, and I didn't want to talk to my family or anyone, really. All of my friends were gay. I didn't want to talk to them about it. And I wanted to be sure before I told people. So during my like questioning phase, I was very much like, it was in my room doing research or whatever you call research, you know, like in my room finding stories like mine. And then I eventually just came like to terms with like, yeah, I am gay, and that's totally okay, you know, and it's okay to be that way. And so I still didn't tell anybody though. I didn't tell my best friends. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell anyone. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go to college, and in college I can just be myself, you know. And I felt like I had to have a crush on someone or be dating someone in order to justify my sexuality, which I now know you don't need to do that. But at the time, I felt like I couldn't tell anyone unless there was like proof that I actually liked somebody. Because I didn't like anyone in high school. There wasn't like, of course there's like crushes and things, but it wasn't ever anything to pursue. So then I came to college, and I kind of said this earlier, I just didn't tell anybody my sexuality. Like, people asked if I was dating anyone, and I just said no. And then there was a girl in one of my classes. We actually had a lot of the same classes together, and you know, that was the first like crush, like the real crush, you know. And so we started kind of hanging out and casually dating or whatever. And then in like November time, we kind of made it like official, like we're dating, and this is my first girlfriend. And so I actually planned on, I was going home to Washington for Thanksgiving, and I was going to tell my family about her, and I just wanted to say, hi, I have a girlfriend. I didn't want to say, hey, I'm gay or anything. I wanted to say I have a girlfriend. But I was actually outed to my mom before I had the opportunity to like tell her. And it wasn't by anyone who I told. It was more so like someone from high school may have had an assumption and talked to her mom about it. And then her mom ran into my mom and said, is like Ryan questioning sexuality? And my mom was like, huh?
Yeah.
So that was really hard. That was really hard.
So hard.
I think.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, being outed is kind of the worst because
I
my
can't
mom.
even imagine.
Yeah, my mom was the one person like that I needed to tell. Everybody else, I didn't care because, you know, you can know me or whatever. But my mom, I needed to tell, you know, and then I was like outed to her, and so she texts me, and I panic. I'm just in utter panic. I don't think I've ever been so like panicked in my life. And so I ended up like calling her and telling her like, yeah, I mean, it's true, but I don't know why that person would know. And she just like needed time to process it. And I think she was more disappointed that I never said anything earlier than she was. Well, she wasn't disappointed that I was queer. She was more disappointed that I just didn't tell her earlier. Yeah. Like, she wanted to be there through the part where I was like struggling. But I wouldn't say it was even that much of a struggle. It was more of just figuring it all out. And so, so yeah, that was really hard because I was literally going to tell her 2 weeks later when I was home in person,
so
you know. So,
yeah.
But that's okay. On that phone call, I didn't tell her about my girlfriend, but I did tell her at Thanksgiving. And I think just with time, it got easier and things, because I think about it as like, you know, I went through like a whole year of trying to figure it out, you know, doing the research, doing the Googling, doing the YouTube and all that stuff. And then I finally came to terms with it, you know. Your loved ones also have to do that same thing. You know?
And they have so much less time.
Yes.
Right?
So, because when you come out to them, you're at a point where you've accepted yourself, you know, and you've accepted that like this is a different lifestyle. This is different than society, you know. This is different than the norm. And it's okay. It's definitely okay. But especially if your family or loved ones haven't really known anybody who's LGBT or been close with anyone who's LGBT, they also have to go through that same first stage that is so hard to go through, you know. And so I think with some time, like, my mom went through all of it, and I think really it's when I like called my mom like heartbroken. My girlfriend had been cheating on me, and I called her like heartbroken, like tears, everything. And I think for me that felt like a changing point. That felt like, oh, this is real, you know, in her eyes. And so since then, it's been like so normal. It's been so normal. Like she asks me about crushes or girls or whoever or whatever, and she's so supportive of me and my like career path and my queerness and everything. And so it just takes that time, you know. And then my dad, my parents are still together and everything. And my dad, he was great from the start. Like you take me and you add a couple years and you make a straight man.
Yeah.
And that's my dad. And so he was so good from the start. And we've just always kind of had like a relationship that's very like playful and fun and not
That's
so
awesome.
not so emotional, I'd say. My mom was my emotional person, and so my dad was like my soccer coach, and my dad was my dad, and so he was great from the start, and there wasn't anything to worry about. We didn't talk about feelings, so but yeah. And then my sister's been great also. She was great since I told her, so there's been no issues with her either.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I resonated with your story because I remember coming out to my brother and we're like sitting in my car,
Yeah.
driving him back to Provo because he still lives in Provo. And I came out to him and he just burst into tears. And I remember being
Really?
like, oh my gosh, like what is happening? He was like, why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm sad you didn't tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you had the same experience with your mom.
Yeah, but everything is so good now. Like my mom and my relationship we're so tight, and we have matching tattoos on our ankles. So
Oh, that's awesome. Fun.
Yeah, it's been really good.
With you being non-binary and coming out at SU the way you did, how was that hard? Was it easy? Because it sounds like it might have been easy.
Yeah, gender roles have never been pushed on me. Like I wore like a Spider-Man costume for like 2 weeks straight, and my mom would just take me to the grocery store as a child in my Spider-Man getup, and I wanted one birthday it needed to be Spider-Man but also My Little Pony themed. And so my parents did that for me. I had like Spider-Man plates and like a My Little Pony tablecloth and all that stuff. Like and I played soccer. My mom never forced me to wear dresses. Like it was just like, you know, a great childhood, and there were no gender anything spread on me, which was so great. Yeah. Yeah. And then in college, I met my first person who was non-binary, and it brings me back to high school when I met my first lesbian, you know, and
Yeah.
so I just didn't really know, you know, and so my non-binary friend actually like told me, oh yeah, I use they them pronouns, and I was like, okay, we're making sure everybody does this for you, you know, like I was like the person who was like correcting everyone and making sure their pronouns were respected and all that stuff. And I think that kind of began like more of my journey, because I wanted to know more about it for their sake, and I wanted to be like respectful.
Yeah.
And so I was like going back to Google and researching everything and figuring all of that out. And so that was kind of like a 3-year process of like kind of figuring out my gender and me exploring all of these different things, like what fits best on me. And I was thinking like gender apathetic, like I don't really care, you know, or agender or non-binary and all of these things, and I just didn't even really know. Or was I just a tomboy? I didn't know, you know. And so I asked like a couple of my close friends to try they them for me to just kind of see how that like fit, you know, because you can say it in your head and whatnot, but it's a little different when other people start using it.
It's different. Mine's different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when those people started using those pronouns for me, it was like I was breathing, you know. And I kind of think of I kind of think of the word she. It's almost like choking, but it's a choke that you're so used to because it's been your whole life that you don't even notice it anymore. But as soon as people were using they, it was like I was breathing. And so it was just crazy. Like I didn't know how much the word she was like getting to me until it wasn't being used anymore. So after my friends were like doing that for a while, I started to, it was actually at the Encircle house in St. George again, when people asked me like my pronouns, because Encircle asks pronouns and people don't do that. And so I tried it out and I told strangers that I use they them. And then it was so natural. They used it so naturally. And so it just felt like I didn't have to think about my pronouns ever, like anymore when people were using them. And so that was just insane. And so after that, I was more open about like I use they them. And now she is used so like less often that when it is used, it's almost like, wow, that is so wrong. That just is so wrong, you know? And it happens every day, because it happens every day out there in society, but like in safe spaces like this, or with my friends, or whatever, even with clients. When clients ask for my pronouns, I give them to them. And those clients are special to me because they respect it, you know? So, yeah, so I'm more open about it now. And I never want to be defined by my pronouns. Like, I don't want to be the non-binary friends. I just want to be Ryan. And so I'm not usually like, oh, I'm Ryan, I use they, them. I don't tell people unless they ask me, because I want to be seen as Ryan, the muralist, not Ryan, the non-binary person, you know, so.
Totally.
Yeah.
It reminds me of I think, I was born and raised in Provo, and I think the first time I heard someone ask pronouns was at orientation at the University of Utah.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, what is this? I have never heard this before.
Yeah.
And then I had someone that used they, them pronouns that I was friends with, that my friend was actually roommates with. And I remember like going through all the same emotions that everyone does, right? Like, how do I use that? How do I not mess up? How do I make sure that I use them correctly? And I don't know, I've just never heard someone describe using they, them pronouns the way you just did.
Yeah.
And I thought it was amazing.
Oh,
And hearing, I think Encircle is often a space where kids walk in, they try new names, try new pronouns, see what fits. And I love that.
Yeah.
It was able to fill that for you too.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Encircle is amazing that way. And I love that it's a space where you could try out a new name. I love my name. I was born with this name. And so I love it. It's so like, I'd say in the middle of everything, that it just feels like it fits me so well. And I'm so thankful about that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Last question.
Okay.
What advice would you have for like your younger self or other LGBTQ kids that are trying to figure out how to come out and how to, like, even LGBTQ artists, like young kids? What would you tell yourself?
I think I would just kind of remind myself that, like, you're not the only one, you know? You're not the only one who is going through it and trying to figure it out, and you can find community and you can find resources like in the comfort of your own room, you know? And so I would just kind of give advice saying that, like, it's okay, you know, it's okay to not know too, because I didn't know. I didn't know the gender thing for so long, and I didn't know my sexuality for less long, but still a long time. And it's okay to not know and just figure it out. And you don't have to have a love interest in order to justify your feelings and who you are, because that's something that you're gonna know either way. So yeah. And as for young LGBT artists, I think keep making art, you know, make gay art. Come on, there's not enough of that in the world. And so I'd say just keep making art. It doesn't even have to be queer art. It can be any sort of art, but just keep doing the thing. Yeah, keep doing the thing that makes you happy, and it might be an escape or something. Just do it, because you can make it as an artist if you want to make it as an artist, or you can make it a side hobby. Just keep doing it, because you know, our art is a creative way to express your feelings, and it doesn't have to be put into words at all. They can just be visuals, or it can be words if your art is writing or poetry or whatever. I don't think society is helping us encourage the arts as much as it should be. And so keep doing art. Even if you're bad at it, just do it. Yeah.
I know so many youth are inspired by your art that they see here at Encircle. So I think that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks for sitting down and talking to me.
Yeah, this has been so fun.
Oh, good.